Youssef. What is going on, dog? How are you?
Oh my God, I'm great. I feel like just trying to navigate the world and not have an existential crisis every day about everything happening.
Welcome to Living Corporate. It's a pleasure to have you. Your sentiments are received and appreciated, and I definitely can relate. Look, we got you here for a good time, not a super long time.
Yeah,
We're gonna get right to it. All right. So look,
hell yeah.
you've built a brand for yourself as being like really bold and transparent as a voice for employees in the people space. I feel like when I meet people who are so unapologetically themselves in the context of work,
Yeah,
typically that's shaped by something, right? Because we're conditioned to put on some type of different persona for the workplace.
yeah.
And it's interesting too, as an aside, I've also met people who have a LinkedIn persona, but then like when you talk to them, they're not really about all the action they act like they are on LinkedIn. So it was cool because I feel like when I first got exposed to you on LinkedIn, I was like, all right, she's like, there's cool. Like you fall within like this category of people in my, from my, again, outside looking in is like really bold voices.
Mm.
But then I'm like, all right, let me see what's up when I like actually engage with her in real life. And sometimes they don't always match up.
Yeah.
So like I found that consistency refreshing.
Oh, thank you.
What happened? Like did anything happen? Like is there any early experiences you could say that shaped
Mm.
like like how you show up or why you show up the way you do, why you're so unapologetic in the ways that you are?
God, that is such a good question. I feel like we would need to go like deep into like my trauma to like really understand the full breadth of my answer. But I think it's so interesting because I had this conversation with my coworker yesterday and I made a joke and I was like, maybe if I cared what they think. And she said, I don't think you've ever cared what anyone has thought about you. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
damn, that's like kind of a strong thing to say. Like you're my coworker. And she's like, you show up as yourself and you don't put a lot of stake into, caring about what other people think of you. You just care about showing up as yourself with like your own integrity. And I think what shaped this was when I first entered the workplace, I really felt this like pressure to be somebody else that I wasn't. One of my earliest bosses gave me feedback that I should wear my hair straight more often than curly because it didn't look so professional when it was curly, it looked messy. And that like really shook me. Like early, you're still impressionable. Like early in your career, you're like, what am I even doing? Who am I? How did I get here? And it took like a few years of working in corporate America to realize I genuinely hate the feeling of pretending to be something I'm not,
Hmm.
but also recognizing that not every environment is safe for me to be myself. And so I'm at the state of my life and I've been able to make really good choices over the last few years. And I feel so privileged that I've been able to do this, where I've been able to pick environments where I can show up as myself, where I can be brutally honest and direct and not be called a bitch, for lack of like a better way of describing it. Early in my career, a lot of people were like, you're too direct, you're kind of bitchy. And I was like, I'm direct because I'm not going to talk around the issue. We have an
Yeah.
issue. We should solve it. Let's be real. And so I
Yeah.
think it took a while and a lot of maturity and a lot of security and privilege in my position to truly feel like I can be myself.
Man, I appreciate you sharing that. And I can definitely relate on the desire and frankly the need. I think it's hard for people who aren't like not to like shit on nobody. By the way, we're gonna be cussing this podcast episode.
Yeah, I was
Just
like, can I say bitch?
yeah, go ahead. It's fine. We're gonna mark it as explicit. It's cool. My family knows who I am. So I think like I think for people who don't practice or deeply value authenticity, it's hard for
Hmm.
them to understand. But like for people who are that way, it kind of hurts us to not be ourselves. Like
Hmm.
I've met plenty of people who are like really good at compartmentalizing and like can put on a mask and like to for and they justify it in whatever way, and
I
that is
can't.
fine for how you desire to live. Like I'm not shaming your decision. I just like it physically, it mentally, emotionally, spiritually, it hurts me to do that. And so I really hear you and appreciate you sharing the idea of like, okay, finding a space where you can do that. But it was never a question of if you should do it or not. You're gonna be yourself. It's just
Yep.
about you finding the environment to do that. And then the other piece, well, I haven't been called a bitch before.
Missing out.
Like I could say,
Gives you a complex.
yeah, uh, I believe it. I think what I can say is like, as a black man showing up in the world of work, when you're direct
Hmm.
and you're honest and you're like radically candid, then you're seen as a threat. You're seen as angry. You're seen as people use words. I mean, I never forget one time, like via Slack, like I was having an exchange with somebody on
Hmm.
Slack, and we were talking about reputational
Hmm.
risk and about a decision that might have been made that's going to create
Hmm.
reputational risk, or there was a decision that was being made that was that was creating risk, and the person replied to me and said, you know, the way you're talking to me right now makes me feel really unsafe. And I was like,
I'm slacking you. What do you mean?
okay. I was like, I said, okay, well, first of all, we are in a virtual medium. There's nothing I've said that's even been like directed at you
Hmm.
personally. We're talking about ideas. And then also, we're online. Like how am I making you feel unsafe? Like that, and I just remember that moment. It was only a handful of years ago. I
Yeah.
remember just feeling so so vulnerable in that moment, feeling like I had done something wrong. So like I hear you on your point of just like, man, like, okay, I don't want to have that experience again. And at the same time, I'm not going to sacrifice who I am, nor like my principles of being like as honest as I
Yeah.
can, respectful, and all those different things, and just being myself. Like, I don't like it's just about, I need to figure out the environment to do that. So I really
Yeah,
get
and
that.
I make a habit too now when so I have like it took me a while to pick these, but I think like 2021 I really started asking myself like how do I actually want to show up as a leader and as an HR person and what are my values? And I like thought really long and hard about them and I distilled them down to 3. And I have like 3 core values that I think define who I am as a person, professionally and personally. And I always tell people my core values are gratitude, curiosity, and honesty. And so when I meet people for the first time, I always tell them, hey, I'm one of those people in Slack. I'll just directly Slack you the question I have, or almost like stream of consciousness, ask a lot of questions. It's my curiosity and my honesty. It's not meant to come at you. So I like to set the stage early with new people because it is easy. Like people will, I've gotten the feedback I'm bitchy, I'm aggressive, I'm too direct, I'm too honest, I'm too transparent. I've gotten all that feedback. And like my way of combating it is I still want to be able to show up as myself. So I'm just going to tell people who I am from the second they meet me. There's
Yeah.
no, I am an open book. I will tell you about the life I've had, the experiences I've had, the grief I've experienced, the loss I've had. Like, I think we oftentimes tell people to shut themselves off at work. And I do also still hate that, like, you can be your whole self here. Because I'm like, no, we have seen the evidence. We can't be our whole self in a lot of environments.
Right.
But I hope because I'm in this C-suite position and a position of potentially more power, that if I display to other employees, here's how I behave, here's how I show up, maybe they do actually feel safe with me to show up as themselves.
You know, speaking about your position in the C-suite, I will say, you are like one of like a handful of people that I've met who sit in the C-suite and are very like staunchly and pro employee.
The people's
That
CPO is what my friend Chris calls me.
well, so because well, here's the thing, right? Like, I just feel like that has to create tension over time
Yeah, always.
with your executive peers because I mean, first of all, we live in a capitalist context. Senior executives are almost like the mini czars of, and they're definitely the czars and
The
leaders
feudal
within their
lords.
company. Even like, but even like in the, but like in like the broader sense of like maintaining these systems, senior executives, C-suite executives, they exist to like to push it forward and maintain it. So it would
Yeah.
seem to me that like there's a contradiction in how employee centered you are
Mm.
and the landscape within which you work. Like what does that look like, and how do you navigate those tensions with like your CFO and your COO and your CEOs that you're constantly working with? Like, what does that practically look like and mean?
Oh, such a good question. It's the lifelong struggle. I think after your intellectual property, like your most valuable asset is your people. And so, me and my role as our chief people officer, I need to understand that that asset is also something that should be cultivated and treated well. But that's in conflict sometimes with what the business wants. Like in the broader world of capitalism, the company needs to be able to profit off of you and at good margins for it to be successful. And so I think the way that I balance the two is I'm very clear to the employees, like, I care about you as a person. Like, I want you to be successful here. If there are decisions that need to be made because the business needs to move forward in a different way, I'm going to be honest and transparent about what that decision is. So, like, that's how I communicate it forward facing to employees. With my C suite, I feel genuinely lucky that I work with also great leaders that do appreciate and value HR and the people. My CEO, one of the earliest hires he wanted to make was an HR person because he understood how the people drive the culture. The people can make or break a product as well. And he really wanted to work with great people for a long period of time. So I have like less tension there, but there are always conversations where we have to say, hey, we have to make a hard business decision about this. And it's never, and I think the way that we approach it is with like empathy towards the employee, recognizing like they're a person who's going to experience this change, this something maybe dramatic, maybe something not so dramatic. So we're always addressing things with that lens in mind, where we're not idealistic. We're like the business doesn't matter and the people are the only thing that matters. We try to tell our employees like we care about you. We're trying to do right by you. We also have to serve this business and make sure this business is successful. And when we make hard decisions, we're going to tell you why. We're going to take accountability for them. And I think that makes the job just a lot easier, honestly, and infinitely better. Because I've worked with different executive teams who don't feel that way about people. My current one, pretty great, honestly.
It's interesting because I've been thinking. I mean, look, I just saw a stat today. I believe it's like 170,000 folks have been laid off in the tech sector so far this year, and it's like July, right?
Heartbreaking.
And so, and you think about like the continual erasure of the middle class, and all these people. Like, there's like so many stats out there around like um, credit card bills not being paid, like the
Mhm.
credit card usage, auto finance loans not being paid.
Mm.
Um, all these different data points that would indicate the that life is getting increasingly hard and people are growing
Yes.
increasingly poor. And
Yeah.
so I hear you about like how like articulating care or demonstrating care in making decisions. When you look at organizations, and look, I'm asking you this as a chief people officer, not of these multi-billion, almost trillion-dollar
Yeah.
companies, but when you see like these huge brands making these layoff decisions while also still profiting like billions of dollars, like as a chief people officer, like let's say if you
Yeah.
were in those rooms and like we're about to make these decisions and you see it, hey y'all, we're actually not hurting for anything. We don't what do you see, what would you see your role or responsibility being in those rooms before, like while those kinds of decisions are being made?
Man, I feel like they'll never let me in those rooms because they know I'm going to be like, why would we do this? Like, if we are profitable, and it really is a struggle, like every day, give and take, because I have so much empathy for anyone who's experienced job loss. Like the average American is can't even cover like a terrible emergency because they don't have money in the fund. And I
Right.
I know so many people who have been laid off, and I'm looking at these companies that are basically announcing like record breaking profits, or Microsoft has just laid off 9,000 people, and then you're looking at they're making actually really good profits. Like, why are they doing this? I would love for like every person to get really smart on realizing that like we're all replaceable, and like you need to have your contingency plan just as much as like your company has their contingency plan. And I
Mm-hmm.
think if I was in that room, like I might say, hey, do we like how do we feel about knowing that we're having like a record breaking year, but we're laying off these people? And I think they would just say, like, we still have to do it.
Yeah, it's like it's a scary time in a moment, right? Like, and I just now look, I'm not. You have a great team. You're dope. You good. I think like I think about all the other. Well, there's only one Hebba Youseff, but I feel like we kind of talked about this on your podcast. It's
Yeah.
like, man, there's so many like well intentioned and like really honest, good, hardworking people in the people space who are
Yeah.
genuinely employee centric, but they are in a capital. They're in this context where it's like, man, like how like where else can you like what can you do, right? Like, you can't, you single-handedly can't make the rest of your executive leadership team make the right decision. And it's just like, dang, it's like almost like you're just looking at the Titanic just like hit this iceberg in slow motion. You know what
It
I
feels
mean?
really helpless some days. And I'm like, I don't, someone could watch this and be like, she's so silly. Like, does she not realize that we have to operate in this structure? And I'm like, yeah, we do have to operate in the structure, but it doesn't mean that we have to do it in the way that's currently being done. There
Right.
are organizations out there that do try to do right by the employee. And I think, like, my hope for the future would be that we look at these massive corporations and we think, like, does work have to be like this? And unfortunately, it really feels like we're trapped and it does have to be like this. But
It
there are some
does.
organizations that are moving to models where, like, they revenue share with the employee, or they're fully transparent about everyone's salaries and how much money everyone's making and what the company is walking away with. And the thing that I need people to realize too is, like, you are not just your salary. You're like your salary plus your benefits plus your employee tax plus all the cost of running your company. And those mega conglomerates, yeah, they're making billions upon billions on all of you. Like early stage startups, where I usually spend most of my time, that's not necessarily the case.
Right. Right. I think that, and it's so funny because like I'm not even really like when I make these critiques, or I use the when I keep like invoking capitalism in these conversations,
Yeah.
it's not to say, hey, let's reimagine our economic model and like go to something else.
Wish.
I'm just saying, hey, yo, like there's so much frosting on this cake. Like, do we have to have all this frosting? Like, can you not like give maybe some? Can you put some of the frosting to the side? Like, and
Yeah.
that I'm more so talking about that because like to your point, there are organizations out there that are typically smaller, and I honestly, frankly, very liberal and just in their whole culture and politic and everything. But like they're profitable and they do revenue sharing and they do all kinds of things. Like like these organizations exist. There's still companies out there, smaller companies that provide employees pensions. There's all
Yeah.
sorts of ways to make it work and still make out like bandits. There's organizations that practice radical transparency with their pay and their career laddering. Like these things exist, and you're right. Like it does feel like we're in this place where no, we just got to stay and do this. I'm just trying to figure out what is the breaking or tipping point where, hey, we don't even have any more. They're all the people that we want to sell to can't buy nothing because they don't have no jobs, but everything's automated. So, like, what are we doing? It's tough. Look, we're several months into the Trump administration. You work in the culture people space. You're in this space. You're
Live in
you're
DC.
you're. Say it one more time.
And I live in DC. So
And you live in DC. What shifts, like whether it be like tone, policy, perception, are you seeing trickle into the workplace? Um, and like what are you as you like in terms of observation, and then like what are you doing in response to what you're maybe seeing shift and change?
well, it's been a really interesting time. Sorry, I feel like I say this all the time. It's a really interesting time to be an HR leader. It's been a really interesting time for the last 5 years. I feel like I have been on the brink of unprecedented times every single month. And the last 5, 7, what month are we in? 7 months of the Trump administration have
Yes.
proved to be as equally unprecedented as other times have been. And navigating this has been really interesting. Like, I'm in Washington, D.C., so I think I have an even more intense lens on what's happening in the world. I've made a lot of posts about this. Like, the things that happen in the world, the laws that are passed, every HR leader needs to be aware of them because they impact us and the work that we do. At any given time, we are navigating 50 states. Now, if you're a global company, you're navigating multiple country laws, and the states' laws vary by state. So, like, I just say that as like anyone in HR that is like, HR shouldn't be political or we don't have to worry about what's happening in politics. You are wrong, in my opinion. I think you should be watching what's happening in politics. You should be aware because it's going to change things like your policies and your procedures. So, just saying that. Now, the next step of it is we've really seen this like demonization of DEI by people who I don't even think could define diversity, equity, or inclusion and don't understand what its actual impact or spot is in the world. And so watching that demonization, first of all, has just been like disgusting to watch. We exist in a society and in a world that was built to serve one profile or type of person's success. Now, the world is more diverse than it's ever been. Gen Z is the most diverse generation we've ever had. And that is actually and should change work, but we really haven't changed work. And so we're seeing this friction around that we are all different and unique. And the work itself is built to like really only serve one person who was the majority of the workforce when this concept of work came to be, or even knowledge work came to be. And so like the demonization of DEI has had like lots of impacts on HR teams. I know HR teams who have taken off those words from their websites simply because they're organizations that work in the government space and they're worried about securing funding for the future. I talk to them and they say, we took it down off our website, but we're not changing anything internally. We just don't want anyone to like really know that we're still doing this work. And that to me is like pretty heartbreaking, honestly, that a president could use his platform to have an opinion on something as simply as building an inclusive environment where everyone can thrive and be successful in a system that is built for not everybody to thrive and be successful. And I mean, like, I've gotten a lot of heat on TikTok about talking about return to work mandates, about how return to work mandates hurt mainly four groups of people: caregivers, underrepresented groups, those who are neurodiverse, and parents. And the comments were deeply disgusting. Like, honestly, like people were like, oh, you're saying that those groups of people are taking advantage of their employers, or they're not actually qualified for the job. And you're navigating all of that, right, as an HR person. And you're also taking it back to your organization and thinking, I want this organization to be an organization where everyone can thrive, regardless of any sort of identifiers about them. I want everyone to be on good footing with each other so that they know that the opportunities and the access they're getting is the same regardless.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just think it's been really hard.
It's been wildly hard. And like, you know, something that we talked about off mic, off camera, was about like this increasing demonization of immigrants. And
Oh my
frankly,
gosh.
and immigrants really now, so I'm not trying to sound like old man, like waving his cane at the sky.
Yeah.
I do get annoyed at this era where like all words mean anything. Like anything can mean anything. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay. So like and so as an example, immigrants in this moment doesn't actually even mean immigrant. It just means anybody that isn't white. Like it means outsider. It means like and outside an outsider to whiteness, whatever that flexing or contracting term might mean in
Mm.
this moment. But like I'm seeing so much commentary and content around just like the demonization of anybody who's brown, anybody who's queer. Um,
Anybody's
I
black.
know that like anyone who's black,
Anybody
anyone who
who's
is a woman, like if you're not a straight able-bodied man who is obviously white, like evangelical or some type of Christian nationalist, then you're on the list. And I'm curious,
mm,
like in this moment, I know that your parents are, you're a child of immigrants. Like,
I am.
you, right? You have family that are not from here, and like I'm curious, like from an employee experience perspective, when you think about the
Yeah.
world of work, not just the organization you're leading here, but just the landscape of work. Like, what is your thoughts on the impact of like this anti-immigrant sentiment that is like becoming increasingly mainstream and like
Programs, yeah. That like legit worries me. It absolutely worries me. I mean, I am a child of immigrants. My parents came to this country thinking like they wanted access. My dad was getting his PhD. He was the top student in Cairo University, and they sent him to America to finish his PhD. He did, and then he decided to stay and then paid back the Egyptian government the money he owed them for them sending them here, said he could stay. And I mean, he came to this country and I think wanted a better life for himself and his children, as most immigrants do have that belief that they're getting access to something that is a better quality of life here. And watching the world turn on people and children being ripped away from their parents and parents being sent back to countries they don't even know, I I find it like genuinely heartbreaking. Like this was a country that was built by immigrants. So it's very confusing to me that we would do that. And in the world of work, I just encourage anyone listening to like think about their workplace. Do you know somebody who's an immigrant, or maybe English isn't their first language, or they just came to this country recently? Like think about how they could be feeling in these moments. And I think a lot of us are really scared. And the world of work is it's so dynamic, it's so ever changing. But the one thing remains that like you need workers to do the work. So like to touch the talent pool and to find people, you're always potentially going to encounter somebody who is so different and unique and maybe not from this country. Like it it terrifies me. And I just think we have an opportunity as HR to also think about having empathy for our employees who feel very scared in this moment.
I I appreciate you sharing that. I'm so concerned, and I continue just to talk to folks like practically. It's like, okay, in a world where federal agents are like masked in dark black unmarked vans, scooping people off the street,
Yeah.
um, like what do you think that does like to the employee experience? Shoot, the customer experience too. Like I was thinking about like again, I try to be practical because
Yeah.
sometimes I think we speak in the abstract so much that it becomes like these moral conversations that people can kind of like just shrug off or not. But like I'll never forget when Mike Brown was murdered. I remember I was talking to people about it. I was like, like I was on my way to work and was pulled over and almost killed by police. And I remember I had that conversation with people at my job, and I was like, so that's a way to keep this practical. Like, since y'all don't
Yeah.
understand the macro, like, let's just talk about like, as a black person in this country, I am less safe, and almost did not show up to work today.
Yeah.
Um, or hey, I had an experience where where guns were pulled on me by police. So now when I come into the office and you have this armed security guard, that triggers my PTSD. Like I don't feel
Yeah.
psychologically safe here. I don't feel physically safe. And so like the same thing goes on like when you talk about like immigrant experience. So like if there's an employee that might be Latino Latina and they might be a citizen, but they might have undocumented family members, like they're gonna come to work with some of those concerns on their mind.
Of
Like
course.
they actually they might not have any undocumented family members in their family at all, but just were still harassed by ICE because they look like they're undocumented. And
Yeah.
so like what does that look like? What does that mean to their experience when they show up? So when they come to work and you're asking them to fill out this TPS report or whatever the case is, and they're not fully present or engaged, like and I think it's important for leaders, irrespective of where you fall on the political spectrum, just like I'm gonna speak to just like the most cronyist capitalist desires of all of so many of them. It's like you're not going to get the best results if you're going to be dismissive of these experiences and like the impact of these policies on these employees every day, right? So you said something earlier about HR and knowing the laws and like
Yeah.
I love that posture in that position. How are you staying abreast of HR policy? Like, are you looking at SHRM National? Are you like, say it again?
I hate SHRM. No, I'm not looking at SHRM National. I'm reading the news. I am talking like I'm connected to lawyers. I follow lawyers on LinkedIn that I think like dissect what is happening. It can give you really good legal advice. I think it is impossible that an HR leader at any given time could keep all the laws of the 50 states that they might be operating in. We operate in 22, fun fact. So almost half of the states in the US. It's impossible to keep all those laws in your head. So you have to have good resources. You have to have like things you can look at. There's a company I work with, 650, where they have like it's a team of lawyers. It was an engine built by lawyers where you can make updates to your handbooks, get the most up-to-date knowledge on how the laws are changing. Like there are things around like leave laws that are very complicated. So if you are an HR person, like one, I'm not expecting them to understand all the laws. Impossible. I'm not expecting you to also be a lawyer and interpret the laws. Also impossible. You didn't go to law school. But I am looking to you to understand that those laws could impact how you operate as a company. And you need to find good resources, either internal or external legal, or tools that you can use that can keep you up to date in a quick and easy way to make sure you are staying compliant, for lack of a better word. There is a part of our job, I hate it because I feel like such a rule breaker most days. There are parts of our job that have to be rule enforcers. We have to know the laws. We have to understand how we're operating in them, because if we're breaking them, that's causing risk to our companies potentially. And we have to have the business mind as well to understand what is the risk to this company if we go about and do X, Y, and Z. And there are fines involved. There is a lot of compliance red tape around it. So it's thinking about like, that's why I always laugh when those tech founders are like, we don't need HR. It's a dumb function. And I'm sure someone's going to watch this and be like, we don't need HR. And I'm going to be like, okay, do you know the laws of what it takes to operate in California? Do you understand the leave laws in New York City? Do you understand what overtime looks like in Colorado? No, no, and no. Good luck. You just broke a bunch of laws. And
Yeah.
I
No.
don't want to think about a world like I I don't just go and follow the laws so that the employees don't sue us. I don't want to live in a world where the only way we as employers are held accountable is by laws. There should
Yeah.
be something else that holds us accountable to how we operate our businesses. Either our values or our ethics, I think, are a big part of it. Like when the Workweek co-founders sat down to start their company, the first thing they did was write down their values and operating principles. They wanted to build a company that ingrained specific values and specific operating principles into them. And I think about that, like that should govern how we behave as well. And I don't know. I don't want to be the HR person who's like, we're breaking a law. We shouldn't be doing that. It's like, maybe we shouldn't be doing that because that's like not a good thing to do.
It's just the wrong thing to do. What this season has reinforced for me, and I mean, I think obviously it was really reinforced during his first term, but that so much of the law, what we call the law, and the structures and things on which they're built, they presume so much good intention and good faith and goodwill,
Yeah.
right? And so, to your point, like accountability can't just, I mean, one, it shouldn't be because we should have our own morals and guiding principles. But on top of that, for things to happen and for things to be corrected quickly, it can't just be us waiting on courts because these systems are so old and slow.
Huh? Uh-huh.
So, like, you say it's illegal, and like, people could go, okay. And guess what? Like, yeah, you broke the law, but you might not get held accountable for that for the next 8 years. So
Yeah.
who cares? And by the time you catch me on that, I'm in Thailand somewhere. You know what I'm saying? So I agree that it's important. It's important to be accountable. It's important to be honest and to figure out, okay, well, no, how are we operating here, and what are we going to do if someone steps out of line of that, and are we going to be consistent in whatever that punishment or correction is going to be? Look,
Yeah.
I feel like I haven't. I'm gonna be honest with you, but like I'm a pretty silly person. I like to laugh.
Same.
Ain't a lot of shit funny right now, so I haven't really.
It's It's really hard to do. Okay, listen, my family motto is laugh through the pain. Okay. I've given our unofficial, I haven't talked to my siblings or my mom about this, but I really think it is laugh through the pain because we are a family that's experienced a lot of pain, a lot of loss. I lost my dad in 2019, my brother in 2021, both had heart attacks. So like I take heart health very seriously. I take stress very seriously. These are stressful times. Literally every day I wake up to like a new fresh hell. And if somebody listening to this does not feel like these are stressful times, you are privileged. Congratulations. You've won the lotto of privilege. Please use that privilege and make the world better because it is so hard during these times to watch these things happen. And I'm somebody who has so much empathy. So do you. So we have empathy for people who are experiencing terrible things. You've experienced it as a Black man in America. I feel like as a child of immigrants, I've experienced a lot of things I don't wish upon a lot of people. Like I grew up in the South after September 11th. It was terrible watching the rise of Islamophobia, watching the racist commentary about brown people who are literally dying every day. It is horrifying to me. So like we are in tough times. And I think like I'm also silly and I like to laugh. So you have to create space and moments where you don't forget that you can also experience joy. Like we're allowed to be happy and have a good time and also still care about the really depressing things that are happening in this world.
Look, I'm right there with you. You said something earlier. You kind of like muttered it, and then I said, "Well, again," then you doubled down. So, what is your beef with SHRM? And is it SHRM as an org? Is it SHRM national? Like, why did you say you hate SHRM?
Ooh, okay. So I do hate SHRM. SHRM national, to be very clear. I really, this last year, they decided that like they were going to take equity out of the DEI equation, which they've like come back and like tried to massage it and say that's not actually what they intended to do. But I'm like, you can't have inclusion without equity, and then you're just tokenizing people. So like, why are we doing this? So like they did that. I already didn't like them. One, because I thought their content was like not great for me. I think they have notoriously anti-union content, which I'm not a big fan of because if your employees can unionize, like maybe they should. I don't like that. I don't like that a lot of their talking points and brand campaigns seem to really like make HR like infantilizing. I always mix up that word. Sorry. They're like a few years ago, they ran the HR Divas campaign, and that really irked me. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? We are sorry. I said that F with like really hard, really, but like HR divas, what are you doing? We're trying to establish HR as a strategic and amazing function because it is that can drive business value, that can make your business extraordinary. And you are running a campaign called Celebrate Your HR Diva. Are you kidding me? We already are a function that's like 70% women. What are you trying to say? Also, if you look at all the studies about how HR execs are compensated compared to other execs, we're usually like the lowest compensated executive. And on the cap table, we have the lowest representation, despite being the function that drives forth the business. So, one, I didn't like them for the HR Divas campaign. Two, I just didn't like how a lot of their content felt very icky to me. They're like return to civil conversations in the workplace. I'm like, excuse me? What do you define as civil conversations? And I didn't like that because I was like, are we just going to avoid talking about the hard things? Are we just going to avoid that for having hard conversations? Now you're telling us to be civil in the workplace. You're trying to police how we all talk to one another. I'm not out here like cursing or yelling at my employees, but I'm not out here not having hard conversations. The only way we move our systems, our processes, our people forward is by having the courage to have hard conversations. And that civil conversations ploy just really felt like an effort to silence any conversations that felt difficult in the workplace.
Keep going.
We also have this rule at Work Week. So like when I'm not our chief people officer, I'm also a content creator. And I have a brand. It's called I Hate It Here. And we have this one rule at Work Week that any creator is allowed to have a block list of like people they don't want to do sponsorship with. And I have two on my list. It's Workday and SHRM. And when I first started, they said, why SHRM? They're the Society of Human Resources. And I said, if they're the Society of Human Resources, why is human resources so bad everywhere? my CEO just like looked at me and was like, damn, you really went in. And I was like, I don't think their values and their content to me reflect a forward thinking, innovative HR leader.
You know, first of all, thank you for sharing your perspective and your position. I'm in agreement with SHRM National, right? I think that there's a few things that they're doing. Everything that they're doing, I was quoted in some article on HR Dive, but I really believe that SHRM National functions and they want to function as like the police of corporate America. Like,
Yes.
you think about like the police function in America as the arms of the state. So the police are in place to protect white property, white people sometimes,
Mhm.
and at the expense of whatever else. And so often SHRM just seems to be like just the attack dog of the
Mm.
corporate elite executive class. Like they don't have a pro employee or employee centric model. And they also just seem to be in lockstep. Whenever Trump gets, like, the first time when Trump got into office, I know Johnny Taylor was like, he was really bold in saying like, we look forward to working with the Trump administration. And then like the same thing happened here again, while being very dismissive of the policies that were being put in place. And
Yeah.
then, yes, using different language to essentially defang the reality of our moment, the reality of
Mhm.
the need for hard conversations, which is weird because, like, when you think about human resources, I think about hard, nuanced conversations. Like, that
Yeah.
is what human resources is so often doing, working as a liaison between executive level leaders and frontline staff employees.
Mm.
So no, I 100% agree. Let me ask you this: let's say you were in a room with Johnny Taylor,
Mm.
and you had 5 minutes. Let's say you had 15 minutes, and you could tell him three things. What in terms of like to improve or whatever? Say whatever you want. What would those three things be?
Oh my God, what a scenario I've never thought about.
Really? So like think about like so. Okay,
And I
Let's
live in
okay.
DC, so like I could literally go meet him. He works in Alexandria.
Oh my God. Okay. So no, let's
Dead.
break the scenario. So you're at
Okay.
SHRM National. You're at the SHRM
Okay.
National Convention. You're
Okay.
walking.
Hello.
You're looking for a charger. You're looking
Yeah.
for a place to charge your phone. You don't
Okay.
see anything. You see two double doors.
Oh,
You're like,
wow.
you know what? Let me just walk through here. You walk through there. Johnny Taylor's sitting there.
By himself.
Now you got 15 minutes.
Oh wow.
What do you tell him at SHRM National? For some reason, no one else is there. He's
It's
sitting
me
in a
and him.
chair. It's you and him. His leg is crossed. He's looking at his tablet, probably preparing to say
Yeah.
something ridiculous. What do you say to Johnny Taylor?
Hi. Oh, I'm Hebba Youseff. It's so nice to meet you. Pretending like I don't know who he is. Just kidding. That'd be so messed
Okay.
up. I would probably just say hi, and then I would say, I'd love to share some thoughts about SHRM if you're open to it. One, I'm not going to force my thoughts on anybody who's not open to it. So I'm always going to give him the out. If he's like, no, I don't want to, then I'm like, okay, there's everything you need to know about a person. In this situation, let's say he's like, you'd love to hear it. And I'm like, great. One, I really feel like you did it. It was a misstep to create this conversation around removing equity from DE&I. I think it was a misstep for a lot of reasons, and that we, as a society of human resources, like that choice was an interesting one and one I would not have made. And I think it is turning off a lot of people from your organization. Two, I just don't like any of your content. Sorry. I just, sorry. We're going to strike that from the record. I'm doing this live. Okay, Zach, you have just asked me to.
No, I respect it. I want to. No, I'll respect it because here's the thing. You said earlier because see, I'm a little different because I do fantasize about running into people that I do not mess with,
I
and
love
so I'd be
that.
thinking, I do. I'd be like, I would tell him these three. I would talk to him.
I need
Like,
to be fantasizing about this more. I'm fantasizing about like meeting celebrities.
well, you right across the street from Alexandria. You gotta you.
I could actually run into Johnny C. Taylor.
You could actually run. You can run into him. So you gotta be prepared with your points.
Fine. Okay, here we go. I would tell him I do not believe SHRM in its current stances, several current stances it has. I do not believe it represents the innovative, thoughtful, future-thinking HR leader. I think your content a lot of times puts HR in a bad position, gives us a bad rep, and makes us look like we are the police of corporate America, when in fact we do have policies that we are in charge of being compliant with, but we could play a more strategic and impactful role in every company's experience if we were given the chance and set up to succeed. And I think a lot of your content does not set up the average HR professional to succeed. Also, you should go look at your Reddit comments under the SHRM certification. I feel like you would learn a lot about your organization by reading that Reddit page. People believe that they are just answering questions to get your certification based on what you all want them to believe, not what a good HR leader would do.
Come on, see, that's what I'm talking about. That's fire. I think it's important, and I ask because there's like this dialogue that's happening in these LinkedIn streets right now around SHRM and its function, and I think people are like picking sides. And I think there's people picking sides. It's like there's definitely a pro SHRM national. There's a pro SHRM national. There's an anti-SHRM, anti all things SHRM, even local. There's an anti-SHRM national.
I keynoted a local conference. I like local chapters. I think are doing something very different. They're trying 100%. To build local community and help one another, and they are picking topics and talking about things that will push the society forward.
I'm right there with you. I believe that, and I really appreciate Angela Shaw for like helping me appreciate the nuances. It's like, look, all SHRM National is really its own entity. These local branches are really trying to figure out how to serve and support their people, and so to kind of to demonize them is weird. But anyway, look, we talked about a bunch of really sad things today. We then ran into a very funny hypothetical. Yeah. I want to reinforce that Hebba Youseff is not some crazy person that has anyone's personal address. Okay,
you better cut that. I do not.
No. I want to say it like directly into the camera. Like that is not the case. And I appreciate your willingness to very like clearly articulate the challenges. And I do think that like there is a chasm that SHRM is just allowing to continue to grow, to get bigger and bigger because of just, we do need, I believe, a central organizing force around people operators to empower them in this next stage of work. Like you think about this bill that just got passed, it essentially blocked AI regulation. So we need to like reimagine employee rights. Like, and like, what does protection look like, and what, and even HR ethics need to get a really hard refresh, because I mean, I don't know. You show up to work and someone puts some AI video of you doing something that you didn't do. Like, what do you do? I mean, it's just a scary time. Or let's say you're an employee, you see somebody else's work, you take their work and you put it in some type of AI engine and you tweak it and essentially copy their work. People copy each other's work all the time right now. Imagine like there being tools out there to make it easier. You steal someone's promotion. Like all kinds of things could happen out there. Like we just need to, if there was ever a time for a ethical, functioning, mindful, intentional organization, it would be right now. So I think it's important that we talk about where SHRM National is failing, because we need something real. Now, look, again, I want to end this on a positive note.
Let's do it.
What is giving you hope right now? Like, there's plenty of things that are sad. Every day, to your point, is a new horror, a new hell, a new point of depression. What is giving you hope?
That is such a good question. I'm sitting with it because I think I've always been a very optimistic and hopeful person, although I've been like very real and direct. Like, I think a lot of people are like, oh, you're too real, and that's like pessimistic. And I'm like, or my realism is, or how real I am is like a form of optimism. that I feel like I can say the things I want to say. I think something giving me a lot of hope right now is I talk to HR leaders all day long, every day, all day long. And maybe it's just the subset of the people that I am attracting that want to engage with my content, reach out to me and talk to me. But every single one of them has this underlining theme that they want to make work better. And I think when I go online and I read on Twitter or I watch TikToks about how everyone hates HR, it feels really sad sometimes to see those comments. I try not to take them personally. It does feel sad because people have been hurt by HR teams. I've been hurt by HR teams. I have. And I have maybe hurt people and that I've tried to like reconciliate and try to figure out how I can be a better leader and support the people at the company. I think like it's just hard times when you're balancing business and leadership that doesn't want to do the right thing. But I think I meet more HR people more and more every single day that genuinely want to make work better. And I think at the end of the day, when I'm looking and it feels like the world is on fire and things aren't great, and I open every social media app and people are losing their jobs, and I'm honestly terrified for the future of our world. I have an existential crisis every single day about it. I try to remind myself, but there are people out there who want it to be better, who are working towards it every day. And until my tide changes and the majority of the people are telling me they can't make it better, I think I'll always have hope.
I love that. And similar to you, my hope is also in the people. Because that's what's going to save us. Yeah, but it's not going to be big named institution or even a governmental policy. It's going to be it's going to be us.
It's going to be the people leaders that are thinking like these people are my most valuable asset. Like I hate saying that they're an asset, but they are. They are an asset and they should be treated like little diamonds. Like they should be treated well. They should be cultivated and given space to grow and learn and experiment and contribute and build great, big, beautiful careers for themselves, where they then build also really maybe cool products and contribute to your company in a way that changes its DNA forever. And like I want that opportunity for every single person at work. I've worked in toxic environments and I've worked in great environments. And I just hope that in 20 years, when you and I are having this conversation and we're kicking it again, in 20 years, we say, damn, we know more people who have now worked at good environments than bad ones. That will mean that like every single effing newsletter I write, trying to encourage people to do the right thing, actually made a difference. And maybe it's like delusion, and I don't care because my delusion keeps me going every day that we can build a better future. We just have to keep trying. We just gotta keep trying.
Hebba, look, mic drop moments all around. Let me give you space. Where can people learn more about you, engage you, work with you, sponsor you, work talk like let's go.
You can find me on LinkedIn. I think I'm the only Hebba Youseff there. There's a yellow headshot that says I hate it here on my LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram. All my handles are the same. You can listen to the I Hate It Here podcast where I am talking about these things with HR people every single season. What can we do? How can we make it better? What am I doing? How am I feeling? All those great things. And you can reach out to me on all social media with hopefully nice things to say. If you hate me, just please leave me alone. just leave me alone. It's okay. You don't have to like me. Not every single person on this earth does, certainly. Just please don't send me hate mail. I'm tired. Keep it to yourself.
Real talk. Relax. Keep it to yourself. It's okay. Write it in your diary and throw it away. Relax. All right.
I'm not for everyone.
Youssef, people officer. That's okay. And guess what? Everybody not for you. It's all good. Just one thing I love about when I drop my children off at daycare, that so my oldest daughter is 5, and then my middle child is 2.5. What I love about that 2 range is that everybody kind of just minds their own business. They be in the same room, but they're kind of just doing their own thing. A lot of y'all can learn from that. Let me just tell y'all, leave these people alone. In fact, leave these women alone. All right. They say something about the world of work that you don't like. All right, man. Politely disagree or shut up and keep it moving. Just keep scrolling. Your thumb right there. Just keep it going, dog. Anyway, her name is Hebba Youseff. Hey, no, it's all good. I got you. because it's annoying. No, it's all good. This incel red pill culture has gotten too far. We're about to have a whole nother podcast as I'm closing out this podcast. It's ridiculous. Her name is Hebba Youseff, Chief Officer at Work Week. Check the links in the show notes to learn how to work with Hebba, to sponsor Work Week, to sponsor I Hate It Here pod. Out everything, her ultimate dope person. I look forward to having you back soon.
Can't wait. In 20 years. No, just kidding. Every year until 20. We'll do a state of HR every season. Like, what's going on in the world? Still sucks.
Don't threaten me with a good time. Still sucks.
We'll do that.
Still sucks. It's still ass.
We're working on it. It's not working.
No, it's gotten worse. There's less and less black and brown people here. All right. Everybody's poor. Okay, we will talk soon.
Bye.
Peace.